Okay, so today's question is to do this arch that exists. It's in St. Louis. It's probably about halfway across the United States. And actually, an arch like this was once proposed as one of the ideas instead of the spire that's in Dublin. But if you ever get that far across halfway across America, in St. Louis, you see there's this massive arch, sort of a parabola shape, with a parabola on the inside and a parabola on the outside. So you can see it's not exactly equal. Right, so each parabola is different to each other. So you can see that this gap here looks closer versus here. So we have to draw two separate constructions. So we're going to start with the inside one. So the inside parabola is 120 and 150. Okay, so that's the first thing. So we have loads of space here. The page is nicely laid out. Let's see, we'll come in maybe about 100, which should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to use a pink because I'm just going to do it lightly first. Now I'm going to use two different colors for this as I go along. So I'm going to draw that. That's the center line, I should say. Right, so half of 120 is 60. So I'll draw a baseline here. And I'll measure 60 this way. And I'll measure 60 this way. Okay, and we'll bring this up. And we'll bring this up. Okay, so I'm not too worried for the minute if I've gone too far. We'll mark 150. And we'll bring this across. So for a parabola, you should usually split this into 5. So once you have, right, my focus there is gone. Push autofocus. Yeah, okay. So sorry, sometimes that happens with the projector, especially on a white page. So once you have your rectangle done, you should split it wherever the vertex is, which is the turning point. And then I would usually split this into 5 and this into 5. You could technically split it into other distances, but 5 gives us enough points usually, and it usually divides into the side. 4 would be the minimum. 3 would be too little. 6 and 7 and 8 would probably be a bit overkill. So 5 divides into 60, so that's 12, 24, 36 and 48. And 5 divides into 150 30 times. Okay, so 30, 60, 90 and 120. And we can do the same on the other side. 30, 60, 90 and 120. Okay, so 12, 24, 36, 48. So I'll use something light because I'm going to have to draw across it. So I'm just trying to see if I have a yellow marker handy. I can't see one at the minute, so I'll just use this orange. Okay. So these ones will go straight up, the base ones. And we covered this the last day. Off they go. And we call this V for our vertex. Okay, these ones here we'll go for an angle. And now join the vertex. Now, one important thing: don't join the bottom corner. Okay, something that people do, and then it causes a problem because it causes confusion. Okay, so I'm going to call this 1, 2, 3 and 4, or I'm going to call this 1, 2, 3 and 4. And the same here. So the corner will be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. If you want to call it, you can call the color 0, but don't do anything from 0. That's the most important thing. So where 1 and 1 cross gives me a point, 2 and 2 cross, 3 and 3, 4 and 4. And what we'll do is we'll sketch that neat thing in, and we'll do the same here. Okay, so I'm happy. So I have the inside of that done. And now I know that the width here is 20 to the left and 20 more millimeters to the right. So I'll bring this across. And again, there's no reason why you can't have it in. And this is 20. Okay. Now, I'm going to draw a rectangle again now in a different color. So I'm going to draw it in a teal. Just hopefully it'll come out okay on the projector. And I know it's 10 millimeters higher, sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to draw this on top of this. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to split this into 5. So what I did now was I drew a rectangle. This time it is, what is it there? Or half of it basically is 60 plus 20. It's 80 this way, and it's 160. It was 150 plus 10 this way. And I'm going to draw the same on the opposite side. So the reason I'm using different colours was just to stand it out. Now again, if you were doing this on the day of the exam, or you're doing this there and you're questioning it out, a bit of a colour pencil on top of that to stand them out might make it a little bit easier for you to see, because there can be a lot of lines on top of each other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark these in a green. So again, I'm going to do the outside first. 160 divided by 5. So just to remind you, the quick way of dividing by 5, write out your number, knock off a 0, and add it to itself. So 16 and 16 is 32. Okay, now as I said, you can bring a calculator into the exam. Some of you will be able to do that easily in your head, but for those people that are struggling with it, it's just a handy way to do it. So 96 and 128. So again, we'll call these, well, I just call these just to be different, A, B, C, and D. So they will go to our vertex, but this time make sure it's the top of the blue rectangle. Okay. So we'll do the same thing. So again, the use of colour makes it easy for me not to use the wrong one. I now have this distance here, which is 80. 80 divided by 5 is 16. So 16, 32, 48, and 64. Okay, so again we'll write A, B, C, and D and D. So where, again, just need to be careful. So where D and D cross gives me a point, where C and C cross gives me a point, where B and B cross gives me a point, where A and A cross gives me a point. So what I'm going to do is basically sketch like so. Okay, and we're happy with that. Now we could do the exact same thing on the other side, but I'm just going to briefly point out how to use the mirror method. So how to bring in our transformation geometry that we did from before. So I'm just going to circle these points that we figured out exactly, just so that you can see them. I wouldn't do this necessarily on the day of the exam or in your homework question, but just so that you can see them for the projector. They were the 4 points that I figured out. So if this object is symmetrical, what I know is that whatever distance that point there is to the right hand side has to be exactly the same to the left hand side. So now, and it is important that I use the points I found. It's important that I don't use a random sketch point, because it may not be exactly accurate. Them points there are exactly accurate because they use the method to locate them. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to bring them from one side, or line straight across. So what's this? This is basically an axial symmetry, which we were doing with the transformation geometries before Christmas. Okay, so sorry, I might have a little bit of tape. So the best way to do axial symmetries is to take the set distance and mark it off. Okay, so to use your compass to do a set distance, right, rather than measure it and accidentally make a mistake. Right, now it's perfectly acceptable to use the method that I used in green there on this side, just the opposite way around, but this is just an alternative way to think about it, and also to see a use for how axial symmetries could be used. So again, I found those points there, and where's my black pen? Sorry, rolled in over the side. So sketch that in. So there we go. There's my arch. Let me see if I have a colour pencil. There's a bit of teal colour. Give it like a metal. Okay, make sure it's a light colour pencil that you're shading with, but the examiner can still see the marks that you used. If you're using the translation method, make sure you can see the compass marks for how you transferred it across as well. Okay, so this isn't the best colour pencil. It could be a tiny bit darker. I think it just needs a sharp. Okay, but you can see the main gist of it there. So that's the method for that. So your name and date on the question, and that's that bit completed.